Okay, let's see if this is going to work. I don't know if I'm backwards or not, but yes, we are backwards. We'll just have to make do. If anybody knows how to do the video twist around, let me know. I googled and I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to make one of the little doggy poo and sanitizer bags. It's backwards on the screen, but this should be on the left-hand side, but it won't matter for the supplies. So you're going to need 3 pieces of vinyl, one for the front, one for the lining, if you want to call it that, the inside, and one for the pocket. I'm going to do the snap version and the eyelet version. So I have my snap press, I have my little snaps here, I have an eyelet, my hole punch, and this here punch to do the eyelet. I've got my scissors. I'm just going to stitch out in all the same color thread, but maybe I'll change my thread later. I don't know if I'll need that, but let's get started. So I've already called up the machine, the design in my machine. I'm going to stitch that out. This actually is not a very long stitch out. I'm not going to add a name to it so that we can be a little bit faster here. I am doing the 5x7 version because this is my Janome 350E that I use for all of my testing, and its largest hoop size is 5x7. But the process is exactly the same. The 6x10 is just a little bit larger for those people who can accommodate it. That way the pouch gives a little bit more room for larger sanitizer bottles. And I did not grab a pen, but it's very helpful at this point. Let me see if I have a pen down here. I do. It'll help you later on, especially if you're smart like me and use a light colored placement stitch to draw, extend these lines here. My pen doesn't want to work. There we go. Extend these lines so you can see them later, because this is going to be important. We want to be able to line up the pocket with these little hash marks here. So can you see that? It's hard to see in this stabilizer, but I've extended the line. So the first thing we're going to do is put down our outer bag material, and it should cover the entire stitch out. Tape that down. On my Janome, I find I can just use this Scotch tape and it's fine. And to be perfectly honest, because this is taking up most of the frame, I probably could have got by without taping it at all, but we're just going to tape it just to be safe. The next thing is going to stitch out the hole for the doggy poo bags. I am going to switch the thread so you can see it better. I'm going to stitch over to this white, or how about we'll do silver. Now the doggy poo bag has that hole, and it kind of takes 2 steps in order to be able to secure the bag. I don't want to do the lining and the outer fabric at the same time, so you end up having to cut that hole twice, and that's where on the instructions I indicated to draw the line, and people, apparently that's confusing, and I'll show you what I meant as soon as we're done stitching this out. So sorry for the boringness here, but at this point it doesn't matter if you pull your bobbin thread up. I do like to stop and trim my long thread here. Of course on the big machine I don't have to do that. But when you get to do the back, it's really helpful to pull up the bobbin thread so you don't get that mess of nesting on the back of the frame. So most of these stitches are different colors to give you the versatility of making the pattern any design you want. I'm going to use the same color for the entire project, but you could change the colors. That's why I make it different colors for you. I'm going to stitch out the little doggy bone shape, which is a back stitch, just to give it a little bit more character. And in fact, you could actually just cut through both pieces of vinyl at one time if you wanted to. stitch, add the lining, and then do the other stitch, but I just think it's easier to do one at a time. I apologize, it's probably very boring watching a machine stitch out, but it's the easiest way to show you. Alright, so now at this point, we want to take the frame off, trim your little jump thread there, and this is where you want to go ahead and cut out this center. Again, we're going to do this twice, but if you want, you can start with your needle, your seam ripper. I don't think I have my seam ripper up here. Or you can just use these scissors usually work pretty well. Just jiggle it in there and you can feel underneath. Be very careful, don't cut yourself. But I just hold my finger underneath until I start to feel the tip, and then I know I'm through. And then just trim around really slowly. Smaller scissors, these actually work much better, these Kai. I do hate to use them on this vinyl though, because it's probably wearing them down faster, but they really can get in there really well and get close. You see that? And they're slightly bent on the end. These are amazing for machine applique, because they can really get in there. And I just turn this around until I get all the way through that hole. And your bag is kind of cover it up, so you don't have to be really, if you're going to sell your bags with the poo bags included, it's going to cover that hole up, so it doesn't need to be rocket science here in surgeon precision. It's a hard word to say, isn't it? Okay, so there you go. So now the next step is going to be to add on the lining fabric. So again, we're going to turn this over, and if you cut it out well enough, you should still be able to see your placement lines. But if you're using a bigger piece than that, then extend your placement lines even more, because you'll need that for the pocket. Again, we're going to tape it down. And I find, again, on this machine, I actually probably could just float this under there and it's not going to move around. But when I use the big machine, it really needs taped, because there's not a, I don't keep the free bed on it. So put this in here. Make sure it doesn't come loose. And again, I'm using the same color thread. Only thing I don't like about this Janome is the mechanism to put the hoop in is a little tight sometimes. So this is going to adhere the front to the inside pocket. This is just to make sure that you don't try to slide the sanitizer between the front and the lining fabric, lining vinyl, if you will. And the way this is designed, you don't need to cut the hole out for the sanitizer bottle until the very end. There's no way to give any reinforcement to the actual vinyl pocket unless you were to do two hoopings. And I try as much as I can to avoid doing two hoopings, because most people just don't want to do two hoopings. Okay. So now here we are. We have the hole from the first step, but now we have to cut it again. So if you were to look on the back, if you were to remove this tape, you can see that you can actually kind of see a little bit down in there still to make it easier to trim it. So that's what I meant, is that you could always just put a pen in there and start trimming it, draw inside here, and then start trimming it, and then pull it a loose on the back, and you'll be able to see to finish trimming it. So again, let me use these bigger threads. Start it in there, poke the hole, and then just start cutting it. And once you get it started, you can actually turn it around a little bit and pull it up and trim it from the back and see that line. It may not help you. It's just one of those things. I was doing the pattern the first time and I did it and it made sense to me at the time. Did not realize I would be confusing on the pattern, but just it kind of made sense to make it easier to trim. That way it's the same size. Let me get this over here. And you can trim the back bigger than the front. The hole can be bigger because the bags are going to be there. And you see here, you can actually get your scissors in here and finish trimming it from this side because it's easier than trimming it from the front. You can kind of feel for it in there. But if you make the hole slightly bigger than it is on the front, it's quite okay. See that? I made it bigger and it's okay. There we go. So now we want to go ahead and add the final pocket. I'm going to remove this tape right here and reuse that. So here's my final pocket. This piece actually is already even on the top. It's really important that it's even on the top. And you can see mine is not even going to be as far across there. So I'm going to trim this chalkboard vinyl a little bit so that I can see better to where the line is at, to line up my pocket. Since I made it, I was grabbing scraps and this one just happened to be a little bit more narrow. That way I want to be able, there we go. So I can eyeball it over here, but I know it's lined up over here. So, and you just want to make sure it's covering all your stitching there. All right. This tape is going to get stitched over, so make sure you are taping it down with something that you're going to be able to get out from the stitches. This Scotch tape usually does come out pretty easily. If you have trouble, you can use tweezers. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to want to stick to this particular stabilizer as well. It sticks to the cutaway better, but all right. So now we're going to stitch the two lines that create the pocket. And again, I made these a separate color because you may want it different for your design. I do try to trim these extra threads around. And I forgot to pull it up. Told you I was going to pull that bobbin thread up and I forgot. So now you're going to see that it's going to be a little bit of a nest underneath. Oh, my blue is hanging over. Did it come loose? Uh-oh. Hope it didn't come loose. Did it? No, it did not. We're good. Ooh, that tension is kind of bad on that machine. You can take this tape off now. It goes to the next step. But you see how I have the little knot right here? I could have avoided that, and I'll show you here how to avoid that now. So now this is going to stitch the final outline. So if you want to avoid that, I don't know if you can see this. Come over here. You're going to pull your, let me move the machine over into the view better. Can you see that? Okay, you're going to pull your needle thread up and hold it. You're going to press your, whatever you do to start yours, start on mine. Let it do one stitch and then stop. Pull your foot up and then pull your bobbin thread up. And you might need tweezers to grab it if it's real tiny. Oh, mine is being difficult. Okay, there it is. So there's my bobbin thread. Okay. Now hold both of those together and start again. Let it take a few stitches and then you can stop and trim it away. And then I'll show you that that will have made it so that you don't have a nest underneath. And again, we're going to go ahead and do both the tab and the eyelet on this design. And really there's no reason you can't do that on all of them. If you're going to sell these bags, it gives your client versatility then. And if you've watched my video on how to finish this off, you would behoove yourself to use a rivet for the tab. I'm going to show you how to do the stamp tab because it's a little bit more difficult, but it's much easier if you just use a rivet. And I think it looks better too, to be honest. It makes the hanger a little bit longer. You can see this frame is actually slightly larger than 5.7 on this Janome. It has a slightly larger 5.7 field, but it takes up the entire frame, so it can't make the tab much larger without having to do a double hooping, and I just did not want to do a double hooping. I just got this design coming up here next. Right here, oil case. And this is what happens when you do a double hooping. I did this trial and I was trying to do this version so it would work on a 4x4 machine. And this Janome just really could not handle going through 4 layers of vinyl. You see what happened here? This is not bad digitizing, friends. This stitched out perfectly on my other needle machine. So when you post stuff and people say, oh, that's bad digitizing, it's not bad digitizing. This looks perfect in my software, and on my big machine it would stitch out perfect. But this machine, this little Janome, and some of the smaller machines, they're just not meant, they're not powerhouses, they are not meant to go through all of this vinyl. Okay, now we're going to do the tab. And again, I forgot to pull the bobbin thread up, but we'll have a little nest there. That's okay, this is just my sample. Usually with the nest, it's really just a knot, and you can kind of pull the loose threads out and trim them off if you are patient. Oh, this is skipping a stitch. I think I need a new needle in it. Let's see if we can finish through this project. Alright, let's do the eyelet. Yeah, actually I think I've only replaced the needle on this one time since I got this in February, and it's gone through a lot of vinyl. I've only used it for fabric one time. Okay, there we go, she's all done. Let's remove her from the machine. Okay, let's turn this girl off now. We can move her out of the way. Okay, so can you see now? Let's take the frame off. And yes, I am at my kitchen table. I bought this testing machine and it's never made it upstairs. I realized when I was sick one day and I was hurt and I couldn't get upstairs that it actually was really nice to have this downstairs. So it's just me and my son. He puts up with all my crap. He yells at me from time to time, but for the most part, he's tolerant. Oh, I'm trying to figure out why the placement stitch was so big. It's because of the eyelet, and you see I did mess it up. I did not place my vinyl well, and it cut off the eyelet. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, well, that's okay. We'll just make do. Doesn't change how we do it. So you'll do a better job at placing your vinyl than I did. And that's why it's important to cover up your placement stitches. And I wasn't paying attention to that, so I did cover it up. I didn't put the blue over there enough. Crazy. I was so focused on it over here, I just totally missed it over there. So it's a good way to learn to try and make sure your pieces are more appropriate sized so you can make sure you can see your placement stitches. So if you watch my other video, learn, do not cut from this side. You want to cut from your right facing side. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the eyelet. I'm not going to cut it off. There's a little bit of vinyl there. It's fine. The eyelet will cover it up. So let's cut around the eyelet. It'd be really easy to cut when it's only one layer there. And the key is to try and keep your scissors as upright as you can so that they're perpendicular to the vinyl. And this vinyl is actually cutting really nicely. And you try to get like about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch away from the stitches. Now I'm going really fast here because I don't want to be boring you guys, but and yes, I'm in Ohio. Men, women, you're all guys to us. I lived in Georgia for 4.5 years. I like to say I did time in Atlanta, and I got teased so horribly about the guys thing because I'm also from Toledo, Ohio. If any of y'all are from Toledo, Ohio, we actually say you guys up there, not yous guys like they do in Boston, but we say you guys. So I still say you guys sometimes. And so that one really was a rough one when I was saying you guy. I guess everybody be like, yous guys. I said, I do not say yous guys. That's like Boston or somebody over there. Who's from Boston? Anybody there? All right. So there we go. So move all the vinyl out of the way. And me and my bad eyelet. Oh, I can't believe I did that. But you know, I don't think you'll actually even be able to tell once we have the eyelet in there. And there's tape there. I'm just going to leave that tape. No. Okay, so this is the part that's tricky. You see I didn't pull the bobbin thread up, so it's not messy there. So 2 ways to do this. If you have a seam ripper, the seam ripper actually works great to get it started, as long as you're careful. Problem is, do you really want to be making your seam ripper dull by going through vinyl? But see, you can poke the hole through here with your seam ripper and get it started. And again, feel underneath and you can get it started. So alternatively, you can kind of fold it in half, use your snips, you see that? And just snip in between the lines and get started that way. And on the first pass, I like to try and trim as close to the outer thread of the tab as I can, because once you fold that tab away from the outer, it's easier to trim it. And these little titanium from Westcott work really good for this. Y'all know I go back and forth between these and the Kai serrated. They're both good scissors. It depends on what I'm doing. I just recently heard about these new ones from, I don't know if they're new, but these ones from Fiskars. I almost picked up a pair of them, and I realized I have about 20 pairs of scissors now. And I was like, I'll wait. How many scissors do you really need? Okay, so be very careful when you go over here, not to cut through. Just get a little edging over there, just so you can pull it through. And I'm going to come back over here, because remember I did the seam ripper, so I didn't start all the way at the bottom. And again, I'm trying to cut as close to that stitch as I can without cutting it out. And now this is free. I can get in there and trim it a little bit nicer. You can see it even from the front. And for sure, because this one is so much tighter to get the snap in, I would definitely do a rivet on this one, because it's really tight on this 5x7 to get that snap in there. But it works. I did 3 samples with it, and a couple people did the 5x7 sample. If you're somebody who really likes to test, make sure you join my group, Starfish Designs on Facebook. I used Starfish Embroidery on Etsy. That's all that was available, so I kind of go back and forth on the different names. But I let people test my designs for me as long as they agree to my rules, and it's pretty great to get extra testing. Now I'm looking at this. I don't like how it's there. It's not, there's too much right there, so I'm going to trim that a little bit more from the front, because I was trimming that from the back, so it was harder to see. Again, trimming from the back is not the most ideal, but in this case we have to do it because of the way the pattern is. I guess you could have turned it around and trimmed from the front now that I think about it. Okay, here we go. So this point you want to put your sanitizer and your bags in the case because you want to be able to make sure it's taking up the amount of room that it's going to take, so you know where to put the stamps. And make sure you use a faux bag of whatever the size bag is you're going to sell. I'm not going to take the time to push this through the little hole. You guys can figure that out. It's not that difficult. So I just put it right in there. And I put this one in here. I do wish I had the other bottle because it's bigger. Don't have it up here in my supplies. Oh wait, maybe I do. No, I don't. Phooey. Sorry about that. The other bottle is bigger, so it takes up more room in here, but I'm just going to keep this Bath & Body Works one. I'm not going to push it all the way down. It's a tight fit as it is, as you can see that. That's how you push it to get it open. I'm going to kind of leave it up here so it takes up more room. So the first thing we want to do is the snap for the tab. And it helps to put your ringer on it too, so you know how much room you're going to have. So this is what I do, and I'm sorry, I forgot one step. I usually put the hole in here for the tab first. I estimate that. So go ahead and put your hole for your hole punch. And I don't have a placement line. I guess I could for this tab. But if you did a rivet, then you won't necessarily want that hole there. Anyway, so this part I was forgetting. So put your hanger on there. Just push it through here so it's out of your way, just because that takes up some space, so you need to accommodate that. Okay, so now you're going to take your cap and you're going to push it through the hole you just made, right? You see that? And you're going to fold it down. And I'm going to try and leave a little bit more room because I know this bottle is not taking up as much room. But you just want to make sure it's going to cover there, and you're going to have enough room for the tab. And then push in on the bag. And you see that, what it does? It makes a little hole there. Can you see that? And that's what I'm trying to show in the pictures, but it's really hard because even here on the camera, you can't see that hole. But it does. Trust me, there's a little tiny little hole there, and then you can put your cap in. So get your hole punch, line it up with that little hole you just made, or if you're using an awl, use your awl and make that hole bigger. And I think tomorrow I'm going on Tandy Online and ordering a new hole punch. That hole punch does not work very well when it's just one layer. But now can you see the hole that I put there? Okay, and this is the tricky part because you got to get that hole punch in there. I'm sorry, the pliers in there, and it doesn't want to go in there because it's very tight. So I put the socket there, and these are the professional pliers, which are even bigger, but I can get them in there. See what I do? You put it on the side. Can you see that? It's hard to say with my hand there. So if you put it in from an angle on the side, and I'm going to take these bags out of here just to make it easier for you to see. This is really hard to show. I'm so sorry. But see that? You can put it in it from a side. I took my cap off. That wasn't good. Okay. And so it's in there at its side angle, and then just press. And I usually do a press and a rotate and a press. I get much better results out of my professional pliers than I did on the others, the old ones. Okay, and do the tab. All right, and I just realized that I did not grab. I need more stamps to do the pockets. Okay, I try to have everything ready. pockets, you're going to do exactly the same way. And the reason, again, I don't have placement lines is because, so we need more snaps. Your mileage is going to be different than mine. You're going to be using different bags than I'm using, and you're going to be using different sanitizer. So your size may take less space or may need a bigger space. Okay, so let's put our bags back in. And we're going to put our sanitizer back in. Okay, you can go ahead and snap this so she's out of the way. And now you want to go ahead and fold this down and kind of eyeball where it is you want the snaps to go. So, and you can see it's a tight fit on this 5x7. Push those bags all the way in there. Fold it down. It doesn't have to be even, but you know, I like it even. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and use the awl and poke through over here and over here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm out of the camera. So I poked through over here and then poke through over here wherever I want to put the snaps. And hopefully I got through to the other side underneath. Oh, I did, just barely. This one for sure I did. Might have to do the little trick. So I'm going to go ahead and use the needle, the press, and put those holes where I marked it with the awl, because it's easier to use that little snap. Okay, again. So now instead of using the awl, fold it down to where you want it and put your snap through and press, and it's going to make a little indicator in the vinyl for you to put your hole. Don't press too hard. You have that bag in there and you don't want to, or I'm sorry, the bottle, and you don't want to go through that. So right here is the one, so I'm going to use my awl just so you can see it a little better. And then, so now you got to remove the bags. And over here I actually ended up making 2 holes, but right there. Go ahead, make holes. All right. And these actually are easy to get the caps in. There's plenty of room in that pocket for your pliers. Yep. If you saw my other video, you'll know that I forgot to keep forgetting to screw in my die plate. Okay, press and press. Right through here, and I have that extra little hole in there. So this pressed hole punch doesn't work well. Okay, and this one's, hey, you can actually put your finger in there and it'll help hold it. Okay, line it up and press. Go here and do make sure you put these on the right way. I was working on that sample I showed you earlier, and I put my caps so that they hit each other instead of snugging into each other. So thankfully I went ahead and bought the Judy on camstamps.com had this professional press pliers and a whole bunch of dies on sale last year. It was still a pretty penny, but I went ahead and got that special, so I have the snap remover dies, all those dies. There you go. So there's all your snaps. So now you can put your, the Bath and Body Works, you can still squeeze in here with that snap on there, but most of the other sanitizer bottles, you'll have to open up the snap to put the bottle in there. But the Bath and Body Works ones, you don't have to. Shove our bags back in here. no, somebody wanted the instructions updated, but since I'm doing the video, I couldn't stop and take pictures at the same time, so I'll have to try and do that. If you want to know the truth, I'm tired of making these little bags. There you go. So that one could have gone up a tiny smidge more, but it works. And as the bags go down, it'll come open more. So there's the snaps. So now let's go ahead and finish off this eyelet. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and use the, what is this thing called? It's from We Are Memory Keepers, the Crocodile. I'm going to use that instead of my other gadgets here, just because it's easier. It already has a 3/16 inch marked for the eyelet. These eyelets are 3/16, I believe. So just line that up. I'm going to do it from the front, the right side of the thing. And of course I have something in there so I can't see. You can actually see right through these, the hole when there's not stuff in there. I don't know how to get it out. Sorry, boring you guys with this. I should have done this ahead of time. No, I'm still new to doing this. There we go. So you can actually see through it so that you can look and see that you're lining up that eyelet in the place that you want it to go. You see that? I can't get it in the camera good enough. But you can actually line it up and see where it's going. Oh, I actually centered it well. I hardly ever do that. Okay, you want to put the pretty side of the eyelet on your pretty side of your material. And this is the part everybody can make fun of me. I don't remember which way the eyelet is supposed to go when you smash it. So I probably do it wrong, but it gets smashed and that's all that matters. So then do the smashing part. And there, it's smashed. And I didn't do it right because it smashed into the material, but that's okay. There's your eyelet. So there you go. It's all finished. So it's pretty quick stitch out if you don't add anything to it. It's not horrible to do. And if I was doing this to sell, I would actually not use a lobster clip here. I don't have one in front of me, but Amy sells them on My Punk Embroidery, and she actually has, it's a split ring here and then a lobster clasp over it. I would use that because it gives you more room to hang from it. But again, I've said this before in the other video that I did, I will be using the eyelet version on mine. I feel it hangs better on the leash, but your customer may want the snap version to hang horizontally for their purposes, because they could be hanging off of something else and then it hangs. You don't have to worry about this, you know, getting stuck. Like if the sanitizer was almost out, it would go to the side there and then you would have to wait for it to come down. So, but anyway, there you go. I hope this helps you guys. I'm still a new digitizer, but I got into this slowly, and I determined that I'm not going to be happy if my customers can't figure something out. I have been that customer who has wasted fabric and vinyl because somebody's instructions were not very good to me. And that's the important thing to understand, is that we all learn differently, and it's very difficult as a designer to write instructions that work for every single person. Doing the YouTube videos, I think, is really going to help. I personally watch YouTube videos a lot. I've gotten into wallet making, and I have watched the same video 3 or 4 times and still pull it up and go step by step. Don't go into wallet making. Trust me, you'll go down you don't want to go down that path. But so I really take criticism to heart. I don't automatically assume that my customer doesn't know what they're doing, or you know, or that it's bad digitizing. I really care that it works for somebody and that they're going to be happy with their end result, and spending the time to help somebody figure it out is valuable to me. This is not my primary gig. I'm a software engineer. which is probably why I do care so much about getting things right. We work with defects all day long, and I don't want defects in my product. So I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me a PM on my Facebook group, Starfish Designs, and we'll see you at the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.